Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Age Hackers Podcast, powered by Gladden Longevity. I'm your host, Dr. Jeffrey Gladden, and we're here to help you live young for a lifetime. I have the distinct pleasure of being with Jim Strole today in the studio. And Jim is the founder of RAADfest, I think, which is maybe one of the premier longevity conferences now in the world. And Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Gladden. I'm very honored to be on the show with you.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have you. So just so the audience has a little bit of sense of background, give us a little bit of the origins of RAADfest and People Unlimited and things like that, because I know that People Unlimited is really kind of the parent company, if you will, to RAADfest. But give us a little bit of the run-in about the origins here, if you would.
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's quite a progressive type situation that took place. I mean, Bernadine and Brown and I, who my partner and who you've met, Jeffrey, yep. Have been working in super longevity since 1972 together. And at that time, we were talking about immortality and unlimited lifespans, the potential for that. And as you know, there was no one at that time, there was no science basically much on it. We kind of had to dig deep. I think there was one Dr. Joshua Ledenberg that I remember who was visiting here in Scottsdale, Arizona, where People Unlimited is based. He was visiting here about 1975, I remember, and he was a geneticist who was speaking here. It was only open for scientists and doctors, but it came out in the news the next day that he said that immortality is possible. So that was way back in 1975. Okay. And that was the first, anything we got at that time from the science arena, that immortality. He was a Nobel Prize winner. So very prominent scientist. So we were speaking on this subject and traveling through the United States and eventually we traveled overseas and we organized a foundation called People Forever, and we became an international organization and speaking on immortality and super longevity throughout the world. In 1990,
let me just
go ahead.
Let me just interrupt.
Sure.
So this is an interesting topic, right? So when people think about living forever, some people might surmise that there's a sort of an extreme fear of death here, or there's a sense of that it's sort of fear motivated. Can you speak to that for a minute for the audience to give them a sense of clarity around?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for bringing that up, because that is one of the concerns sometimes. Well, I would say more than anything, there's more of an extreme fear of living, extreme fear of aliveness that we have. And but we've been programmed for so long, thousands of years, that death is inevitable. But it's just like anything else, right? Whether flying, the airplane. Roger Bannister breaking the 4-minute mile. We always have this innate human propensity to put the negative twist on it. It's impossible. We can't fly. We can't run under 4 minutes. We can't do this. We can't do that. It's, it's not real. And so I understand that's in the human nature. But I would say, when we're speaking of unlimited lifespans, first of all, we're talking about lifespans with vitality and strength, not in some decrepit state. Okay. And already there's huge scientific evidence, like there was even back in 1995, where Joshua Ledenberg said that there's huge protocols and innovations now on the table that are just waiting for human trials that that have been proven already in the lab that super longevity, or you want to call it immortality, is possible. Now, we're not talking about immortality that necessarily from the state that there's going to be one magic bullet that's going to take us into this unlimited lifespans, but there's going to be a plethora of innovations, I think, that are going to take us step by step. So it's more about living longer than forever.
Right. So let me take you back to a critical point that you made, which I think is a really interesting one for the audience to understand. And that is, when I asked you about the fear of dying, you talked more about the fear of being fully alive. And I think, in the way that I talk about it, and you've heard me speak, I talk about it as getting to a point where we're living our unencumbered lives, where we're not really living in reaction to some of either the traumas that we've experienced or some of the fears that have been perpetuated or the limitations that have been set in front of us. And we start to come to understand that it's the people that dream to do the impossible that actually make the most progress, whether it's flying, whether it's running, whether it's building the first submarine, whether it's, going to outer space or colonizing Mars for that matter, right? So, or going faster than the speed of light. So, all these things really hinge on one thing, which is that you brought up, which is there's sort of a fear of being fully alive. And that's a really interesting thing for the audience to think about. What are the things that you're thinking that are really kind of holding you back when you hear something like this, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. So do you want to speak to that just a little bit more?
Sure. Well, aliveness has been so suppressed. I mean, we're afraid, first of all, because many things, public opinion, we might get too much. Total aliveness has been identified with maybe some radical, movement that has to be suppressed. It was dangerous for a long time and still is for human beings, to come out and really express themselves freely, totally, to be able to really be themselves. They're afraid of being mocked. There's so many aspects to this that has suppressed human aliveness. So, and also, first of all, a key thing is that we're here for such a short amount of time, and we're in survival. Okay, most of that time we have a very small percentage of time that we're really into what I call creativity. So we really don't even know ourselves. We haven't really developed ourselves and our full potential at all. But in our full potential, we not only have the ability to live unlimited lifespans, but we have the ability to be maximum creative.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I think, even our concepts of what it is to be fully actualized, if you will, or to live to our potentials, even those have limiting thoughts associated with it, right? Like, I will live in this kind of a house. I'll have this kind of a job. I'll make this much money. I'll do this on vacation. I'll do that, whatever. And it's really so constrained compared to what it could be, right?
Exactly.
And so I think it's fascinating. So, one of the things that I've found to be incredibly powerful for me is to wake up with some affirmations in the morning. The first one is that I'm 27. Every day I wake up, I'm 27.
I like that.
And the second one is that I'm a billionaire. No, actually, I'm a trillionaire. But really what that means is I actually have access to unlimited resources. So now I'm 27 and I have access to unlimited resources. So that's no longer a limiting factor, right? And then I have many loving relationships that are very satisfying, that allow me to make an impact on the world. And I love the people I don't even know, for that matter. And then the fourth one is I'm on this spiritual path to, live from an enlightened place, if you will. And those are kind of my four affirmations. And what I found for me is that making those affirmations is really a way for me to deconstruct limiting thoughts so that I'm living into a much bigger potential than I could even imagine, if you will. So
yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, you're creating the environment henceforth.
That's right.
What you instead of being subject to the environment, you're creating the environment that you're feeling in your own person, and right. That's so powerful. And that's a very powerful message for everybody. I mean, so many people are stressed out. That's part of what I was talking about. So stressed out and suppressed by our environment fundamentally. Instead of realizing that, and consequently, they're reacting to the environment rather than deciding, oh, okay, I'm gonna go by what I feel here and not react to the environment, but create the environment that I really desire. And we can have that now. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And consequently, there's a whole new avenue of creativity that opens up, as you know.
That's right. And I think one of the keys to doing that, quite honestly, is to take it out of the future and to bring it into the present. In other words, I am 27. I am a multi-billionaire, trillionaire. I have access to unlimited. I am all these things today, right?
Yeah.
Because when you live from that energy as opposed to aspiring to that energy, it's and the audience could even take 2 minutes and try that on, either at the end of the show or whatever. Just try on your biggest dreams and just be that. I'm telling you, it changes everything. And so in your mind, I know that as you've gone through this, you are immortal at this point in time, right? You've attained this, and now you're sourcing things to support the affirmation, if you will. So,
well, yeah, it's part of embracing what your goals are, right? I mean, otherwise you're always living your goal way out some dispensation away, rather than really embracing it now and living from that premise. And then it becomes a whole different world for you. Yeah, like I don't think of, I'm going to be immortal someday. I'm immortal now, or I never will be, and I'm moving from that base, from that wholeness.
That's right.
And really, I think we're innately immortal. There's a primal scream that's always been in us as human beings for aliveness, and that's part of what's been suppressed. But time has suppressed us. The limited amount of time we have here suppressed us. Unlimited lifespans or let's say extending lifespans at least, is very necessary for human development, because otherwise we're constantly, again, we're in survival. We only have so many years here. So we spend most of our time, working to create a survival system for ourselves, making enough money, getting everything in order around us. And so much time is spent in that. We have taken very little time for really the development of ourselves. And it's a trap. It's a trap of human lack of development. It's a trap that keeps us from really developing who we are.
So really, if I understand what you're saying here, it's if we're able to extend youthfulness, let's call it that. If we're able to extend youthfulness, right? And then we have enough time to sort of sort out some of the survival things that have to be sorted out, right? Whether it's, having a job or whatever it is, it gives us a lot more time to be able to focus on personal development, which moves us into making a much bigger creative contribution or impact, because now we're freed up to be able to actually do that. Is that kind of what I'm hearing you say?
Exactly. It's like the old saying, Rome was not built in a day. You can't really build the life we're talking about in this limited lifespan. It's just too much involved. And we've proven this. Still, we're repeating as human beings because of this death, I'll say, program that we live in. We're repeating the same old patterns we have for thousands of years. We're still destroying each other. We're still finding new ways to destroy each other. We haven't really developed what Jesus talked about 2,000 years ago. Love thy neighbor as thyself. That's just a concept for most people. It's not really real. But in the realization that we're all in this together and we're going to be here for a long, long time, we're going to have to come to grips with, we really need each other, and we need to treat each other right. We need to treat each other as our very self, and begin to develop a whole different relationships with ourselves and one another. But again, the suppression of life is from doing that.
Yeah. So just to comment on that for a minute. So, really, I think most people are living in a world of scarcity.
Yes.
Right? With politicians, economics,
That's right.
Whatever. So they're living in a world of scarcity. And I think what you're talking about here is that when you step into this reality of, and as the audience listens to this, imagine that you're immortal. Right? Just say, okay, now I claim that, make that claim. I am immortal. Okay. And then all of a sudden just see how that flips a switch of like, oh my gosh, I really want to make this a great place to live. I want to create great community here. I want to create a great planet. I want to, take care of all these things. Right. And all of a sudden you switch from scarcity into how do I create more abundance, not only for myself, but for everybody here, right? So I think that's what you're experiencing, what you're talking to.
Well, yeah. When you're just passing through, when you're just here, like you're a visitor on the planet, you're like you go into a hotel room, and you stay overnight. You don't clean it up afterward because the maid's coming in, and you're just passing through anyway. So that's the way it is with most people on this planet. They're just passing through. What's the real motive to clean it up, other than you're saying you're going to clean it up for your kids? But hey. That you're just passing on the same mentality to them that you have. So to change that mentality, we have to change the whole dynamics of our living.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So take us back to the 90s. So you already had some some concept that you wanted to, extend life
You froze.
radically. And then now there's some scientific evidence that maybe this is true. And then you started this international company, and sort of take us a little bit further on the journey. How did it evolve from there?
Okay, so we formed, Bernadine and I, in 1995, formed People Unlimited, an international organization dedicated to promoting and educating people and inspiring them to live unlimited lifespans. So we have the headquarters here in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's a fantastic community of like-minded people that are really embracing immortality, super longevity, whatever individual wants to call it, or just living longer with vitality and strength. Most every of all the members, one level or another, embrace unlimited lifespans, and yes, it's been a fantastic journey since then. In 2015, we began to think, we need to get out more into the community, more into the longevity community. So we decided to start reaching out to some of the top scientists and doctors who are working on longevity. Dr. Bill Andrews, Bill Falloon, the Life Extension Foundation, many others, Aubrey de Grey, and with this idea that why don't we create a coalition to support the radical life extension community? And consequently, the short story is everybody loved the idea. We ended up calling it the Coalition for Radical Life Extension. And then we thought, we should have an event to kick this off, something that would not only appeal to the scientists, but would appeal to the public and help spread this message. So we decided to do something that was revolutionary. The scientists that I was talking to at that time, many of them, they'd say, please don't have another, just boring science event. We sometimes walk out of our own events and talk in the hallway. So why not have something? So we went to the drawing board and we said, okay, why don't we have like a Woodstock for radical life extension, something festive and fun, and yet really top science, and focus on age reversal, not just healthy living per se, but really focus on age reversal and immortality. And so Bill Falloon of Life Extension Foundation, Bill Andrews, at that time David Kekich, unfortunately who's not alive right now, such a really great inspiration for kicking this off. Many others, Aubrey de Grey, loved that idea too, and they were concerned that we wouldn't get many people there because historically they couldn't get, many of the companies couldn't get very good attendance. So we said, well, if we address it more from a Woodstock presence, something that would be fun and festive and yet good science, I think we could draw in if we create a niche that would draw in the public. So sure enough, that first 2016 event was over 1,000 people. Everybody. I'm laughing. I'm kind of laughing right now as I'm thinking about this because Aubrey de Grey at that time came up to me, and that first day of the event when all these people were there. He said, oh my God, he says, I'm on board from now on with you. He says, I didn't believe you'd get this done, but wow, this is amazing. So it was really cute. He said, now I'm convinced. So from then on, it's just been exponentially, getting better and bigger. And of course, this year you're going to be there, which is great. Of course, you've been there before, but you're going to be presenting there. So I'm excited about that. And we have a lot of other great presenters coming. So that's kind of that's the version of how it came down.
Right. So how many, what this really is it's kind of a celebration of life, quite honestly.
It is.
It's really a celebration of life. And some level, it's a celebration of living this more expanded sense of life, right? This unrestricted, unencumbered sense of life.
It is. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's
also, Dr. Gladden, it's also about celebrating each other in a way. Many of these scientists and doctors have worked hard, to get where they're at and to create many of these innovations that they're struggling many times for the finances to actually get the human trials done or to get the innovation completed. And so we celebrate them for their work. We celebrate the people there, the public for their attendance and for their help and for their promotion of the event. And then we celebrate the knowledge that we're learning, the newness, the innovations, the excitement. And there's many new collaborations that come out of it because people are excited with not only the innovations, but with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're really cross-pollinating a lot of very brilliant people
Yes,
that are
that's
very
right.
ambitious in this space and believe that it's possible. And when you get that kind of cross-pollination, all kinds of things are going to explode. So really, you've actually, I think, been fostering this, the reality of this on two fronts. One, kind of on the life energy front, if you will, really stepping into this bigger sense of life and abundance and things like that. And then also kind of pushing the whole thing forward by creating an environment for scientists to come together and cross-pollinate ideas and actually, make it so, if you will. So,
Right. That's right.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna be speaking there this year. I'm excited to do that. And I'm going to be speaking with John Cantanzero, and he and I are working on this project that I know we spoke to People Unlimited about, where we're doing the transcriptomics and proteomics to actually start to decode the aging and decode the youthfulness processes within the body, and then be able to manipulate genetic expression, kind of coax genetic expression towards the homeostasis of youthfulness, if you will. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so we're super excited to share that with the audience. We've done a podcast with John here, and we have more data. We'll have more data to present by the time that we get to RAADfest in September.
Yeah. He was,
tell the audience.
as
Go
you know,
ahead.
he was speaking at People Unlimited this last week, right after you at our week-long event we had. And we could really see between you and him both the synchronicity of your work and the vastness of it, really, that we're really, grateful that both of you are doing. So we're excited to hear more. And it is the future that you're helping bring about.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we feel that way too. Yeah, very, very cool. So can you tell people when RAADfest is going to be, where it's located, how they can learn more about it and things like that?
Yes, for sure. For sure. Yes, please be there. We need you. It's in Anaheim, California, September 7th through the 10th. And it's at the Hyatt Regency Hotel. And you can go on RAADfest. It's RAADfest, stands for Revolution Against Aging.
FEST, RAADfest. Yeah.
RAADfest, yeah. Again, that's RAADfest.com, and see all the speakers that are going to be there. You can register. There's several different packages. We try to make it very reasonable for everybody to be there. We believe strongly in that. We do have to meet financial needs. It's not, the hotels aren't free, of course, but we do try to make it available for everybody. And consequently, we get a good showing. And I would advise anybody that's listening to go on and register as soon as you can, because we will sell out this year. For one thing, we have some limited space available, but based on last year, we're going to have a sellout. So we're happy about that, and it's going to be some phenomenal information that is life-saving.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So, how many people were there last year? How many? When you say sold out, how many people are we talking about? Is this common?
Yeah, well, we were at the Town and Country Hotel in San Diego, and we booked a venue there for that would hold set up for 850 people. We had about 900. We filled the seats, and then also the exhibit hall was filled. And so this year, based on we had been to Town and Country, that was about the third or fourth time we'd actually been there. We felt we needed a new venue, so we moved over to LA and found the Hyatt Regency.
Okay, great. So what would be capacity, just so people have an understanding? Is it
around the capacity is around 1,100?
1,100. Okay, great. Good for them to know that.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. And what we're going to do is we're probably going to end the podcast here, unless there's something else that you would like to share, and then we'll go into that sort of a closed session. Is there anything that you would like to share?
Well, the only thing I'd like to add to what I've said is that a little bit on how unlimited lifespan, the ability for that or immortality is innate in our bodies. That's very important to get. It's like I personally have experienced and believe, and of course we're all familiar with the immortal germline, that the immortal cells in our bodies. I personally believe there's an immortal lineage there for us to tap into that will not only open our eyes, you might say, lift the veil to what is possible for unlimited lifespans, but will give us the strength and energy and the vision to be able to, I'll say, walk this path, this journey, because this is a journey. I mean, it's not for the meek, because it takes a certain amount of not only foresight, but I'll say energy and aliveness to be able to even walk this path, because it's going to take some getting off your butt. I'll use that term, and beginning to care about yourself enough that you're going to quit destroying yourself and quit. I mean, when I say that, I mean right across the board with everything from food that we eat to our mental processes to our attitudes towards life. And so it takes some energy to change those things. And that really is a beautiful thing, though, when you begin to do that. But if you realize that this is innate in the body, and to tap into that there's an energy there of life in the body to tap into. That's why it's so important not to suppress it. That a whole new, I'll say, energy and willingness to do what's necessary to stay alive will come forth. This is what I'm just only expressing my personal experience in this. There's a lot more in this that I'll be talking about at RAADfest, and there'll be discussions on it. Is what is it that's in us innately that why so many people, really everybody wants to live. They just don't think it's possible. So why is this in our bodies? What is it that we can tap into to give us more resolve to live the way we're really supposed to live in an unlimited way?
It's a really good point that you bring up about changing behaviors, if you will. Behaviors both related to, let's call it exercise, diet, lifestyle choices, but on also behaviors of how we think and feel about things. And I'm just sitting here as you're speaking and kind of feeling into this, but this concept of just claiming that you're going to be here for like a long, long time, you can already feel the shift. It's like, yeah,
that's right.
Okay, I'm going to be here a long time. I want to take really good care of this vessel. I want to take really good care of this community, this planet, this, whatever else. It just kind of shifts everything in a really positive direction, where I think there's a lot of creative juices that flow around. How do we actually do that and make it good for everybody, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So exactly, thank you for saying that. And by getting in touch with this innate desire, this innate, I'll say, strength that's there to live an unlimited life, we take the burden of death off our shoulders. We've carried a huge burden of survival on our bodies, and it suppressed the immune system. It suppressed the life forces in the body. And by getting in touch with this innate ability, this innate desire, so I'll call it the spirit of immortality in the body, it will give us renewed strength to endure, to move in whatever we need to move in, to embrace, like I say, this new life, and to be able to manifest it.
It is very true that the biology gets really kind of imprinted with the environment and the self-limiting thoughts and the stress, to the point where I think the biology starts to crumble in the face of that, right? But if you allow the biology to be freed up from that, unencumbered from that, and beyond being unencumbered, you now infuse it with a new sort of life force, life energy. Looking at this from that bigger perspective, it can have profound impacts on the biology. So I think what the audience needs to understand is that you can actually change your entire future with regards to health, productivity, impact, all these things that are important to you, by switching your mindset around this and starting to embrace this concept. And whether or not you want to live forever or you don't, that's a question unto itself. But the point is, if you embrace the fact that you can actually be here so much longer in such a different manner than what you're accustomed to thinking, you'll find it's incredibly empowering. And I think that's a really beautiful message.
So last thought, like I was saying, is that there's a shortcut. It's like the sword that can cut through the Gordian knot. I'm sure you know that story. The knot is so bound up, and that's how our life gets. But instead of believing that it's not possible to live an unlimited lifespan, begin to start thinking that it is possible, and it's innately in our bodies. And why not venture in your own person to take on a different thought in that way? It won't, for sure, it won't hurt you. The worst thing that's going to happen is you would, as they say, die anyway, but you're going to be living more joyful and more abundant.
Live,
and so by embracing the spirit of immortality in your body, it's going to make everything a lot more easy.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think it actually makes it easier. It actually lightens the burden, lightens the load.
Exactly. Oh, it does, because it's a key thing. I know in my own person, it's a key thing, and we have to lighten that load to move where we need to move in the future.
Great, Jim. Well, it's really been a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.